Today we're gonna have a look at a StarCraft 2 player that I've not featured before on the YouTube channel. So here's the thing, with the cast that I do right here on YouTube, other than I guess the viewers submitted replays, they are in a category completely of their own, and I guess sometimes even more fun than the pro players. But I try to bring you the best games of professional StarCraft 2 that are being played in tournaments right now. And since there's still events going on pretty much 24/7, it's practically impossible to watch everything live. So I'm trying to just simply cast the best games out there so you can watch and stay up to date with top-level StarCraft 2 without watching, you know, SC2 every single waking minute of the day. The downside of that approach, however, is that I tend to cast the same 24 or so pro players over and over and over again, just because they tend to play the most epic games in the biggest tournaments, right? Now today we're gonna have a look at a player that I haven't casted a game of before, but who may very well be the next big name when it comes to top-level StarCraft 2, and he goes by the name of Arrockfire. First off, his opponent, playing here with the blue Protoss pieces. From Germany, we have ForJumy. Yumi, as of me making this video, is 19 years old. And, well, I've casted a couple of his games before, if I'm not mistaken. Once against Björn, yes, and then once against Chem as well, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's the correct opponent. I'll go ahead and have a look at the archive of my channel, and I'll go ahead and post a link to that absolute clown fiesta of a game down below in the description of this video. Anyways, let us talk a little bit about... What's going on, by the way? Are we gonna proxy our second pylon? I think we are. Are we gonna proxy our second pylon over here as well? Alright, I think we are. Maybe. I mean, you should probably plant it. Alright, there we go. Yeah, so both players trying to outsmart each other. So let's talk about Arrockfire a little bit, right? So, here's the thing. Arrockfire, as of me making this video, is currently sitting at 6,469 MMR. The guy has been steadily improving over the last couple of years, and currently he's sitting at rank 22 in Grandmaster League on the European server. He plays the European server because he's from France. However, if he would play the NA server, he's quite literally about 250 MMR ahead of the rank 1 Grandmaster on the NA server right now, right? That's not really a roast of the NA server, it's just the fact that, like, the European server is where most of the Americans play, and, well, either that or the Korean one, right? Anyways, here's the kicker, though. Arrogfire is currently 14 years old. So he's sitting at nearly 6.5k MMR, which is higher MMR than players that well, he's a little bit under 6.5. But he's, you know, he's higher MMR than some players that I feature regularly on the channel. And he's only getting better. The story of Arrockfire so far kind of reminds me of like a Clem or, for example, a Raynor from a couple of years ago. Except that Arrockfire, you know, he's like 2 years younger than they were at the time. The reason why you may not have seen his name in a lot of the big events just yet is because, well, obviously he's still improving. But secondly, a lot of the tournaments have a minimum age to participate of 16 years old. Just because of... Well, you can imagine, right? There's a lot of laws that you might not want to mess with if you're a tournament organizer. So Arrockfire not really able to participate in nearly as much as he would probably like to. And it's still going to be a little while until he can, but there's no denying that he's definitely someone that you want to keep in mind. Obviously, no one can predict the future. It's going to be hard to say where StarCraft 2 is going to be in like 3 years from now as well. But I mean, it'll be around, right? I'm sure that the game is still going to go strong as well at that point. And I mean, whatever is happening, I think Arrockfire should be able to transition to watch another RTS game as well without too many problems, if he so chooses at some point in the future. Anyways, ForJumy opening up with a semi-proxy oracle. A little bit of a strange oracle, because it was kind of produced right outside of the main base of his, well, his own, right? It's not really much of a proxy, but it was unscouted. At the same time right now, Arrockfire dealing a little bit of damage in the main base of the opponent too. Both players already going for a strange start here, and I guess it is going to be Arrockfire who will come out ahead of this. That being said, we do have a transition right now to watch the Twilight Council. Scouting probe apparently left at 1 health, never mind. At 1 health for a little bit, just so he can relay his story to the other workers. But yeah, both players trying to outsmart each other with some proxy pylons, and both end up taking quite a bit of damage. Twilight Council here goes down as well for Arrock. He's still dealing some damage, opting to go for the second Oracle here as well. And in total, he's killed 11 workers, which is a really, really good start right here. So, I basically, by the way, asked Arrockfire if he had a good game for me to go ahead and cast, and he sent me this one. So, yeah, I don't know. I hope that this is not going to be a very one-sided match. But he said that this was a pretty fun game to have a look at, so we should be in for at least something half, you know, at least half decent, right? I guess we'll find out together. Anyways, it is quite impressive. I always, like, I've talked about this many times in the past as well whenever I feature players, but I always think back of, like, what I used to do back when I was, like, 14 years old, and I would just play a lot of RuneScape, and I wasn't... Well, I was pretty good at RuneScape, but RuneScape wasn't really a game of skill so much as, like, just something you could spend a ton of time on, right? And then at some point you would just magically get good at the game just because of the insane time commitment. But to be this high in MMR is quite ridiculous at just 14 years old. One thing, by the way, one correction that Iba made. So I featured Iba, or I guess Iba participated in the viewer tournament a couple of weeks ago. And I mentioned in that cast that he was the youngest player to ever reach Grandmaster League, and that is true. However, I also said that he overtook Raynor for that, that world record. But apparently that's not actually the case. So in between... Mr. Iba reaching Grandmaster League and Raynor holding that record. Apparently Arrockfire had the record as well for a little while. So to be 100% accurate, Arrockfire overtook Raynor's world record for youngest pro player ever at like 12 years old, if I'm not mistaken. And then Iba overtook Arrockfire once again, you know, at like 11 years and something amount of days. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that there are still very good players out there in StarCraft 2 that are certainly worth keeping an eye out on, but Arrogfire is... Like, there's a difference, right? So, like, a lot of people think that I am close to the professional level of StarCraft 2 because I'm Grandmaster League, right? The problem is, within Grandmaster League itself, there's still, like, 2,000 points of difference, if not more. So, like, you can be Grandmaster League with, like, 5k MMR. However, someone like Cyril has peaked at, like, 7.5k MMR. So, like, just within that one, you know, that one league alone, within, like, those couple of hundred spots, there's thousands and thousands of MMR differences. And obviously, it gets harder and harder to climb up in MMR the higher you go. So, you gotta take that with a grain of salt. But the fact that, like, Arrock is not just hitting Grandmaster at a young age, but is also actually continuously improving from there is quite ridiculous. Anyways, shall we talk about the game? Because I feel like I haven't really talked about the game yet. Oh, there's a stasis ward over here. Oh my god, beautiful bait right there by Yuumi, realizing exactly what he's going up against. He's going to try and target fire down the overcharged battery right now with some of the Stalkers. Not over-targeting here at all. Nicely done, dealing a lot of damage. Eventually, these Stalkers will come out of that stasis. But this is certainly a nice way to catch up. That being said, I mean, the probes are soaking up a lot of damage here. And yeah, he's maybe overextended a little bit as well, because now the Stalkers obviously have come out of the stasis. A few of these blue units will end up going down. And he's not even going to opt to take down the pylon here. Instead, he decides to chase down some more of these units as possible. And I've got a feeling that maybe this Stalker, yep, is also going to have to pay the price. Alright. So, both players, by the way, losing 17 workers in total. Oh, there's still this Oracle going on here behind the... This is, by the way, just a ladder game, right? So there's no, like, fancy pop-ups on the right side of the screen. Makes it a little bit harder to cast the game as well if you're a one-man production team who's barely paying attention to the game, apparently, because apparently this game has turned into a podcast. Me fanboying over Arrockfire for 20 minutes. No. Let's actually try and pay a little bit closer attention. 2 Adept right over here, dealing some damage as well. And both players are losing a tremendous amount of resources. Arrockfire trying to see if he can potentially just go win with the Stalkers right here, right now. But I mean, he's losing a ton of probes during the process. Yuumi now has killed 27 of those bad boys, which is a little bit more than you're hoping for. Shield battery here completely out of energy. Probes right now are pulled off the line over on the other side of the map as well. And it looks to me like Yuumi will just barely be able to hold on with reinforcing Stalkers right now coming up. There's no proxy pylon close by. There's no prism out or anything like that for Arrock either. So he's not going to be able to reinforce this very quickly. And because of that, I think Yuumi will just barely be able to stay in this game for a little while longer. Alright. So we've got ourselves the Twilight Council now researching the charge upgrade, which is going to help out quite a bit here against these Stalker-based armies. Arrock already has got his own done as well, which is quite nice. A couple of Zealots over here trying to just go around 2 more Adepts once again dealing some damage too, and that pylon will finally be finished. Okay, Stalkers are gonna get recalled, and eventually these units over here will be cleaned up as well. Alright, so big picture. 10 minutes in. 54 workers have already gone down. I like it. I like it. It's a little bit more than you ideally want, but neither player really at a... Well, I guess there is an advantage right now for Arrock, but it's not like the game is over just yet, right? It's not like this is game-ending amounts of damage. Obviously, in Protoss versus Protoss, it can be very difficult to actually drive it home because, well, battery overcharge is very good, but especially once, like, say, disruptors join the battlefield, the game can become an absolute disaster, and you can be one mistake away from basically just losing straight up. 2 Zealots apparently have been charged with... Hey, charged, there you go. They have been charged with holding the watchtower. I guess the one in red is gonna basically just barely be able to survive. Alright, well, if they were to fight to the death, that is. Apparently, he's just gonna chase it down for a little bit, but then return to the watchtower once again. Alright, so first off, we've got a couple of Archons added into the mix. Archons are phenomenal against Zealots in particular, so if you can have them, yeah, in front of your army, they deal splash damage to, well, a small area in the point of attack. And obviously, Zealots being quite skinny. If they were a little bit thicker, I guess it wouldn't be a little bit worse for the Archons, but they can definitely get rid of those Zealots quite easily. And Arrock is thinking about just going for another big assault over here. He has grabbed a 4th Nexus right here at the 9 o'clock position of the map too. Looks like finally the Stalker here will get a peek of that Stargate, but here we go. He's thinking about going for a big push. Battery overcharge used pretty much right away, and battery overcharge is so scary. A lot of Archons over here on the left side too, which is fantastic for Yumi. Or for Yumi, which is always a little bit confusing to cast. Anyways, I think there might be enough though for Yumi here to indeed push back this army, yeah. Battery overcharge, man, it's so easy to just imagine that it's not that big of a deal, but it's only really like a couple of supply of difference, right, in these big battles. And right now, obviously, there's no static defense helping out at all. Stalkers trying to pick off another one of those Archons, and I think it will end up going down. Yes. Archons, by the way, are like 99% shield and like 5% health. They die very quickly once the shields are gone. Yeah, look. 10 health in total, 300 shields. Not bad whatsoever. Anyways, in the meantime, on the left side of the map, we do have one Zealot here trying to act cool, but in the end, he's just gonna get sniped. Yumi right now taking his 4th Nexus at the top section of the map. So, both players just transitioning right now, and this is apparently the moment where we are gonna be going into the second Robo facility here, as well as the Robo base. So the Robo base, they give you access to a couple of things. Observer speed, Warp Prism speed, Colossi, but of course, specifically for this matchup, we can go bowling, which is always exciting. I think a Prism actually just ended up going down right here on the left side of the map. But you can get yourself the Disruptors out. Disruptors are phenomenal units, very strong when played correctly. However, in my hands, I tend to blow up my own army, more so than, you know, the opponent's units. Very risky unit to play with, but of course very, very powerful. So real quick, they have a skill called Purification Nova. Purification Nova is on a cooldown, so it's not, you know, energy based, so you can't, like, I don't know, feedback them or something along those lines. You can't, like, you know, EMP them either if you were to be a Terran player. It's just a cooldown. It deals a lot of damage in an area of effect. However, if the Disruptor gets killed while the ability is channeling, the ability is cancelled altogether. And on top of that, the Disruptor also can deal friendly fire, other than to, like, itself. Just a couple of things to note. Whenever I see players below the pro level play Disruptors, they tend to blow up a lot of their own units. I don't really see it happening right here in... at this level, it could still happen, but it shouldn't, right? Theoretically, it shouldn't, but you never know. Alright, so Dark Shrine is coming up right here as well for Arrock. That's usually the next step in the plan as well here, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to see it for Yumi here in a little bit too. But apparently, he's a little bit concerned about the army, so he decides to opt. There is, by the way. Yeah, he decides to opt for a couple more units first off. Okay, a couple of Zealots over here trying to deal some damage. Batteries desperately trying to keep some of this army alive. This game can be over with one Disruptor hit. From either party, by the way. Alright. So despite 50 plus workers going down, ooh, nice charge bait over there as well. Besides 50 plus workers going down, apparently, Oh, nice pickup. Nice pickup. Cancels the ability, but still deals damage. We've still got ourselves a nice macro game. Yeah, so these guys are trying to bowl, right? You can see that they're terrible at bowling because they haven't hit a single pin yet. Apparently the pins can move, though, so maybe we shouldn't judge them all too harshly. As if I can bowl. I haven't done any bowling in forever. We even have some shield upgrades coming up right now for Arrock. Okay. Dark Shrines are going to finish. The Shadow Stride research now comes up as well for Arrowfire. That allows him to charge those, or to blink rather, those Dark Templar around the map too. Okay, this is good. That's very nice for Arrock. Grabs a couple of the disruptors here of his opponent. A lot of Zealots, by the way. That's a ton of Zealots. Have been split up from the main pack. Maybe a little bit too greedy right here from the Frenchman. Thinking about moving in. Okay, a couple of Archons have been added into the mix too. Huge disruptor hit once again. Yuumi right now desperately scrambling towards the 12 o'clock position, trying to defend his 4th base. Okay. Disruptor cooldowns have been used. There's still one available right now, and he does manage to grab it. There's still some shenanigans going on at home as well, so it's very easy to look away from that army. Did all of those Zealots go down, by the way? Yeah, 59-47. There have been a lot of dead Zealots. Oh, that's one way of getting rid of a Dark Templar. He used the Disruptor right there to get rid of the DT, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, once again, trying to get some work done, but one of them got nipped in the butt during the Purification Nova. Dark Templar, all the way at the bottom of the screen. Dark Templar usually used for, like, run-bys and stuff in this matchup, but, I mean, obviously, if you can blink behind your opponent, it can end the game very quickly, and it can become a bit of a disaster. But in a lot of ways, they're kind of like better versions of the Zealots, right? That we see being used for run-bys all the time. Their main advantage being that they have way more damage per second, so they can... yeah, they can blow up static defense in a heartbeat. If you don't pay attention to a mineral line, you blink once and the entire mineral line is gone. The downside, though, is that they're far more expensive. Alright. Upgrade-wise... yeah, still a slight advantage right here for Arrock in most ways. He's once again looking to deal some damage all the way at the top side of the map. Yeah. Recall has been used on the disruptors here in blue. They're gonna try and zone this away. Dark Templar here do get caught here by Yuumi. Nicely done. He split up his army very aggressively though, and it's starting to concern me a little bit because I think he needs some of those glowy boys all the way up north. Nice hit there by Yuumi. Apparently confident that he can hold on here without having his entire army present. Yeah, I like this idea better. Maybe just leave some units on the other side of the map. It's so dangerous. Alright. Base at the 6 o'clock also acquired. Disruptors are gonna force this back. Yuumi there basically just, yeah, defending using only the Disruptor. Nice snipe right there on the pylon, actually. But now we have Dark Templar fighting Dark Templar. Archons are being morphed in and recalls are used. The majority of them will be able to get out. Dark Templar, by the way, despite the fact that they're both Nerazim and they're both, I guess, you know, from the same tribe, they can still not see each other, even when they're cloaked. They can't see their brothers, though. Somehow, some way. It's a little bit funny. It's a clever little tactic, or tactic, I suppose, where you, like, morph in an Archon very quickly and then use the recall, and usually you can actually get home in time, because they obviously have such high amounts of shields, and then the shields would just regenerate, and you can add them to your main army. Observer there makes a little bit too much noise. Oh. Yeah, can do a lot of damage, obviously. While I'm looking over here, right, you gotta keep in mind that these players still have to continuously stare at their main armies to make sure that they don't accidentally walk into one of those bowling balls. Top left-hand base now even acquired as well by Arrock. Yuumi playing this a little bit more cautiously. The next stage, I guess, could be like a mass Skytoss transition, but that would be quite difficult to pull off. And usually the game sort of sticks around on these unit compositions instead. It's just so easy to accidentally lose here. Kind of like, you know, big banelings dealing damage to each other. Well, this is going to be a strange battle. Dark Templar versus Dark Templar. Dark Templar blinking on top of Dark Templar. Observers up ahead. Looks like Arrock has a couple more, though. Yuumi now, grab the supply advantage, but one supply. He's been behind in the supply count for the majority of the game. He now takes the bottom right-hand corner. Alright, upgrade-wise, yeah, players are looking quite even. Yumi, though, opting to go for a later Shadow Strike. Obviously, it's not a free research. It's not that expensive either. It's just a very slow one. A lot of static defense over here, though, so I don't think you can actually go in here if you're Arrock. Nicely done. One lucky Disruptor Ball may as well. Cooldown ability anyway, right? Can definitely give it a try, see how it goes. Maybe your opponent happens to be wandering down that ramp. Okay, is this the big engagement we've been waiting for? Because I do feel like there's going to be a clash between these two players, and it's that right here, right now. Dark Templar did come in from the side as well. A couple of Archons did get nipped as well by Disruptor Purification Novas, but one of the Disruptors there ended up going down too. Arrock warps in more Disruptors here, whereas Yumi opts to go for a couple more Archons and a couple more Dark Templar instead. Oh god, big hits right there by Yumi, nicely done. At the same time, by the way, all the way up north, the Dark Templar are fighting the Dark Templar. Observer needs to be very close to this in order to spot anything. This is such a chaotic game. Impressive stuff though, man. It's so easy. Like, I just want to emphasize how easy it is to lose. I know I've said this like 5 times already in this one cast. But it's so easy to just accidentally like lose your entire army. Especially when you have these heroes with capes. Battery overcharge isn't going to save that, Yumi. Anyways. Now all of a sudden Arrock finds himself with a huge advantage. Not only dealing with his opponent's army quite well there. Warping in a ton more reinforcements too. But now taking care of the base right here on the right side. Using that economic advantage of his to just simply get more reinforcements. Yumi right now, though, thinking about doing the same thing on the other side of the map, too. So he moves in at the base at the 9 o'clock. Bottom right-hand corner should be killed, although somehow, some way, I guess the Dark Templar may have gotten... Oh, army hotkeyed! Oh my god, that was like a dozen probes there going down in a heartbeat. 120 plus workers killed. I think this is still a Arrockfire advantage, though. Pretty significant one too, but I mean, it's mostly the base in the top left. Has this even been scouted? Yeah, Yumi has seen it, of course, but... Ooh. Oh my god, big Disruptor hit right there once again by Arrock coming in from the flank. And apparently that is enough to put the nail in the coffin, as he does win against ForJumy.